Item is, first off, Jeffrey Weiss, CPM board member and also a professor at DMAC. He will first talk to us from American Friends Service Committee, their toolkit, basically answering the question of who profits from war. And then after...
we're having a little trouble here.
Oh, is it? I'll speak into that one.
Right into
Is that better? We'll try that again. Anyway, so first and foremost, we have CPM board member and DMAC professor Jeffrey Weiss. He's going to read a little bit from the American Friends Service Committee, their questionnaire on who profits from war. And then after that, we'll hear from Yasser Abudaga, who is a native of Gaza and also a resident of Iowa City. He also co-founded the Hope Foundation, which is basically it's dedicated to shedding light on the humanitarian crisis in Palestine and Gaza, and bringing a humanitarian angle to it, and an educational angle to it. So those are the two people we'll hear from today. First and foremost, Jeffrey Weiss.
I'm just going to speak for about 3 to 5 minutes real quick, because I really want to hear what our brother from Gaza and Iowa City is going to tell us, because that gets us into the what we can do about what is happening in our world today portion of the program. So I was tasked with just real quickly trying to answer the question, who's making money from the killing in Gaza? I will say that the World Court issuing a decision that a plausible genocide is taking place, and the fact that there is a panel at the International Criminal Court right now that is deciding whether to indict the Israeli Prime Minister or not are important events, and we hope that that indictment comes sooner rather than later. Why are deadly weapons being sold to those who plan to inflict untold suffering on individuals and society? Sadly, the answer, as we all know, is simply for money. Money that is drenched in blood. In the face of this culpable silence, it's our duty to stop the arms trade. Pope Francis, on September 14, 2015, speaking before what Mark Twain described as the true criminal class, the United States Congress. In our own state, and we're passing around this handout, the Iowa Army Ammunition Plant produces medium and large caliber munitions. I have their address there, they're close to Burlington, and I have their phone number. These munitions are, to our knowledge, being used in Gaza. If you didn't get a copy of this sheet, my email, jjwcpm@yahoo.com, I will send it to you. But we do have the Iowa Army Ammunition Plant only a few hours from this church. The United States is responsible for 40% of global weapons sales. Israel, incidentally, is 9th in the world exporting weapons. And as you research Gaza, you do see that Israel does use a significant amount of its own artillery. They also use 25% of the weapons that are imported by Israel are imported from Germany. And how are weapons transferred? They are either purchased by the United States government from companies like Lockheed Martin or Northrop Grumman, etc., or they are sold directly by those corporations to said government, in this case, Israel. A few things that I found interesting about this, and I'll be done. General Motors provides engines and transmission units for vehicles, and Ford and Toyota trucks are retrofitted. This is interesting to me because they're retrofitted and they're turned into armored vehicles, it'd be something worth researching. You know, what that process is, to what extent General Motors, Ford, and Toyota have been pressured about such. Google Photos facial recognitions provides mass surveillance of Gazans. Ghost Robotics in Philadelphia supplies robot dogs. Caterpillar, which we're aware of, exports the D9 armor bulldozers. And I'll just conclude with this. Amnesty International did an interesting long paper called Outsourcing Responsibility, where they contacted 22 of the major weapons companies that were selling weapons to Saudi Arabia when Saudi Arabia was bombing Yemen, and essentially asking those corporations if they were operating within the law, either international law or United States law. And the answer that they received back over and over is, in the words of one CEO, we export weapons because it's legal to do so. So I'll just end with noting that I think if you came from another country, you would, or another universe, you would think that we were ruled by a king, because when you look at United States media coverage, it's all about the executive, it's all about the president. But we need to do a lot more focusing on Congress. Congress writes law, after all, and our members of Congress are consistently writing the law that is allowing the exports of these weapons. So I think that's an area where we are a little bit deficient. So let me now, do I turn it over to Caleb or our next speaker? But we are anxious to hear what our next speaker has to say, and then to break into groups and find out how we can start working together to end the war in Gaza.